Figma Components. They were one of the very first productivity unlocks for me as a UX designer. The trouble is they can be a little bit confusing to learn and get to grips with. But don't worry, my friend, you have found the right video. All right, my name is Dan Scott. I am an award-winning instructor, wearer of white glasses, and chief Figma course creator at bringyourownlaptop.com. And today, you are going to master components. Let's start with a component, what it is, why it's useful. Basically, the short version is you've got a master and its instances. This master, aka the parent, has control of all the little children, aka the instances. But these little children can do unique things as well. This instance is green and it has different text. We create the master, then we do some overrides on the instances so that they feel unique. But when we change the master, we make it bold, boom, they all update. Cool, huh? All right, let's jump in. All right, let's talk components. What are components? They are reusable things. They've got loads of perks. Let's start with a nice simple example. I've got this button here. It can be a rectangle. You can do anything into a component. I'm gonna use this button because I want to use it more than once. Because at the moment I have to go and find it and copy and paste it. So I'm gonna create it into what's called a master component. So select on it. It's over here, it's called button. I'm gonna click on this button here. It says create component, boom. What's changed? Very little, okay? Except the icon has changed. Look, undo, redo. Okay, so it's changed into this little thing. You'll see components everywhere. And we'll start using them a little bit now, and then we'll use them. You'll find yourself, everything's a component. Why, you say, okay? It's because it adds it to my assets panel, which is kind of helpful. So we've been doing exclusively with layers. Let's go to assets. And have a look on our checkout page. There's my little button there. It makes them easy to be reused. So down here, I'm like, actually, I don't want this one. I want that button over here. So I can click, hold, and drag it out. Okay. This is considered an instance of my master component. My master is that original one here. This guy is the ruler of all instances. Let's say that I make this one and I don't want to delete these. They took me ages to drag out. Okay. So I've got this one, copy, paste. I got 3 of them. These are instances from that original one. Why this is cool is this master here, if I amend this one, if I go inside of it, so I'm going to go back to my layers panel, double click it to go inside. Okay, and what I'm looking to do is maybe change some stuff. Maybe I need to make it a different size. Oh, look, they're all connected. That is the power of having components. Okay, the master and the instance, or the parent and child. This is called the main in early versions of Figma. So you'll hear me call it main quite a bit by accident. It's now called master. Same, different name. Cool. So that is one perk. Another perk is that you can actually do some variations on these. You can say, actually, this one here, I'm going to change to this color. And the cool thing about it is I can make some slight amends to my instances. Okay, some variations on it. But watch this. It's still controlled. Okay, so I can kind of make everything a little bit individual, but control some of the bigger things like the sizes and this scale. Okay, I can go into the font here and change it to be light. You see, they all go light. You're like, oh, that's cool. What if I need this button to say not purchased, but delete? So instances can have some unique parts to them. Okay, color, I've changed the text, but there's some parts that the master will control. It's pretty well implemented here in Figma. Let's say that you got here and you're like, actually, I need to reset it back. Okay, I want to go back to be like the master. I can right click it and say, let's go to reset all overrides. So overrides is what we're doing to these instances. Okay, we're overriding some of them, like we made it pink, fuchsia, call it pink. Okay, but you can reset it. Often you'll lose control of like, well, placement. Where the hell is that master? Okay, I can right click it and say, actually, main component, go to that one for me. Oh, there it is. That's the main one. And now I can make my adjustments. Okay, I need to get rid of that rounded corners. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. You can see they all come along for the ride. But this one here, actually, I want this one to have some corners. 10, 10, 10. Typing the wrong one. Hang on. 10. All right, so I've added rounded corners. So I have some overrides applied to this. Cool, huh? So we'll cover a bit more in a bit, but basically everything becomes a component, kind of like it's a frame. You start with a frame, all the frame goodness, and then eventually becomes a component like this logo here. It'd be great. Okay, it is a frame. I'm going to turn it into a component. Why? Because I want this logo to go into my assets panel. Okay, and on the checkout page, there it is there. Okay, I can go to my new document. I'm like, okay, let's go to our pages. Let's open up my desktop. And I'm like, I need that logo. Where could it be? Under assets, there it is there. Oh, look at that. And in this case, I might not ever change it, but I might, okay? Means I can go back to that original, okay? And what'll happen is, watch this, because I'm on a different page. I'm gonna see layers here. We're on a different page, right? I'm going to right click and say, go back to my main component, okay? And it'll jump back to that mobile page that we've got, back to that original. The other thing that I haven't mentioned is the master component looks like that. It's the 4 diamond shaped dark filly things. And if I go back to my desktop version, can you see it's the same name, but it's got this single kind of, not a diamond, square on its side, but it's hollow. Those are instances. So you kind of know. The other way to tell is, let's have a look. Let's go back to our mobile view. Now, at the moment, we've got ours on a page, but if I drag it off into the no man's land, you'll see there's that icon again. You'll see that quite a bit. So that is my master, and let's drag an instance. So before we dragged an instance from here, okay, it doesn't have all that fancy stuff on it, okay, with the diamonds. You can actually just duplicate this, and what you've done is you've not made 2 masters, okay? You actually made an instance. You can tell my layers panel, you see there, just a little diamond. Original, the master, the main, the parent, and then the instance based off of that. You might end up with 100 instances and just 1 master. All right, so let's go through some more perks for components. Okay, so let's look at, we've got this thing here we made earlier, right? I want to turn it into a component. Okay, because I want to use it on different things and I want there to be a master. So select it, make a component. Great. You can come down here and just so it can be there. Okay, so now we need an instance from it. We can either alt drag one off, okay, or go to my assets panel, find out where it is. There it is, drag it out. Okay, we know it's an instance, remember, because in our layers panel, instance has that little kind of single diamond, multiple filled in diamonds for the master. So we know that we can select on this and say, actually find me the main component. I can go to it and make an adjustment. Let's say this needs to be bold now. Ooh, bold. And the instances update. We know how to update that. That's easy. We know that we can go into this particular one, this particular instance. Okay, I can go into it and say, where's that frame? This one here is called Stephen Butler. You probably run into him already. He's amazing. Shout out Stephen. Okay, so we can have our instances doing kind of little things. Okay, they're called overrides from the master, but we can also push back. Let's say that we forget we're working on this. We're like, oh, yep, that was on some other page and some other document. Okay, I'm down here. I'm like, okay, I'm going to adjust this. I'm going to go into it. Yeah, and we've decided that all of these stars, we don't like the rounded corners. I'm holding shift to select them all. I'm going to say, you know, the stakeholders come back and said, no rounded corners. We're going to go 0, and they have to have 6 pointy bits. Okay, and great. You're like, actually, I want that. You realize you drag out another one. You're like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to my things. There's another one. You're like, huh, why aren't those updated? You can push back to the original. Okay, so let's leave that other instance there. So there's my master hiding up there. Okay, this guy, I'm like, actually, can we push the overrides back to the master? You can. So let's select it. Okay, and we can go to our main component and say, push the overrides to the main component. And you notice that one updated and all the other instances does. So if you are working on a particular thing, you don't have to go and find the master potentially. You can just adjust the instance and push back. Another thing, if you do decide to go through, we've kind of covered this. I'm putting them all in one video for prosperity. Okay, you do decide to do some overrides. Okay, and you're like, is that the right color? You can right click and say, actually, let's go to clear overrides. I can't see it. It's reset all overrides. There's another way of doing it up here. Can you see this little icon? Reset all overrides. Okay, it'll kind of go back to that original design. Let's make a couple of arrows on this page here. I want to show you something else. So I'm just going to use the arrow. Okay, give it a color for no reason. Can't see it. Okay, so we've got an arrow. It's my right arrow. Okay, I've got a right arrow. I'm going to make an instance. Oh, another shortcut is, so I want 2 of them, right? I want a left and a right arrow. for my UI design. I've got 2 of these things, okay? And there's gonna be instances where I need it pointing to the right, left, you might have up and down, might be on or off, whatever it is. You can actually select more than one thing and go up to here and say, not just make component. If you've got more than one selected, this option appears, make multiple components. Look at that. So in my assets, you can see I've got 2 of them all in one go. So if you've drawn a bunch of buttons, okay, and you want them all to be, you don't have to do them individually. Just select them all and say make multiple components. Okay, so I've got these 2. And let's say in this design here, for whatever reason, I need an arrow. You're like, great, working. Oh, it's the wrong arrow. I can do 2 things. I can say, you, my friend, actually can go over here, and I don't want you to be arrow 1, I want you to be arrow 2. There you go. You can just switch them out. You can see how that'd be good for icons. Okay, you might be using, I don't know, the home icon, and you want to switch it out to the other icon, the share icon. There is a faster way. You can, so we've got our left arrow here. You can drag this out holding the Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, and just kind of like dump it close to being on top, and it will switch it automatically. We might have 2 versions of this. So I'm going, oh, good point. Okay, I want 2 versions of this. So there's like a light version of the logo. I want to make a dark version. So this at the moment is an instance. I want to break the instance because I want to make a new component, like a dark version. I don't want it to be an instance that just kind of like overrides it. I want a completely fresh component. So I can right click it and say, detach this instance. So it's back to just the regular old logo. It's kind of a way of like breaking it. Even if that's all you want to do, you just broken, it's no longer a component. There's nothing like connected to anything else. Happy days. But let's say now though, we want to go in actually and change it all to, that's the background frame. Let's do it to the text. Okay, we want to change it to a dark version. Okay, so I've detached it. Now I'm going to make it a component. My assets panel, I've got a light and a dark version. So I've got my light and dark versions there. Let's make a new page. Just do a, for instance, I want to grab my frame tool and don't just click once. I got to go to frame tool. Let's go find iPhone 8. Okay, so we've got a design. We've used the dark version of our logo. Oh, looks good, perfect. Then we make another version and the background is using kind of a dark color. So you know I can go in here and say you and hold down my Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, and it'll just switch those 2 around. You can switch it with anything. If you need an arrow there now, okay, it'll work. Also, you can switch them over here. Okay, remember logo. Now, this thing here, it's a bit tricky, like, especially if you haven't named your different things right. Often it's easy, especially if you've named your layers right, just to do a search. Logo, and it's gonna cut it down to just the assets that I've named logo. Undo. All right, so that is how to update, change, and reset your components. One thing actually before I go is that switchy thing doesn't work with the main component. So this one's a main component. How do I know? It's got that little star thing there. And I know because if I go, all right, I'm gonna switch you for the light version, hold down my sweet key. Oh, doesn't work. The masters are special. Okay, they have a few extra things over here. Let's make an instance of it. So the instance has very little. You can do some stuff in here, but this one, you see, has things like, I want to add a description. This is my dark mode logo. Okay, you can add a document link when you're getting a bit more, I don't know, advanced. And let's say it's this thing here, and with a bit more to it, you might actually have to create like a web page document or a design spec, or maybe some design system documentation to explain like, this is this padding, don't change this. When you're doing in this case, like a lot more details, you can add a URL into, where is it? There, just copy and paste the URL. Next, let's talk about how you can't kill a main component. Well, you can try, it's just, it's pretty tricky. Actually, we should probably not call it killing either. Let's call it deleting components. So I'm gonna create this top nav as a component. Okay, not multiple components, just one big old component. Okay, I'm gonna call this one top nav. Okay, so that is the master. Okay, let's put him over there and let's make an instance of him back onto this. Okay, but let's say that later on I forget. I'm like, what is this thing? Don't need that, delete it. Actually, let's show me in the assets panel. So there is my main component in the assets panel, okay? But let's say I click on it and I delete it. Can you see it deleted from over here as well? Watch, delete. You're like, oh no, it's gone. But you can't delete a master component, Okay, it's hard. Okay, so what you can do is, as long as you've got at least one instance of it, you can right click that instance and say, normally this says go to main component, but now it says, I can't find him. Can I restore him? You said, yes, please. And he pops back. There he is there. He's just back where he was. Okay, delete him forever. If you delete him and his instance, there, he's properly gone. Okay, but as long as you've got at least one instance lurking around, you can get that main component back. Now, another level to this is we are kind of using a master within the same design file. Okay, let's say that we grab a master or an instance from another design file. So I'm going to go find something from my drafts. Now, it could be from the community, something somebody shared from you. I'm going to use this as something we used earlier in the course. Okay, it's from the community. And I am going to go to the assets, which are all the components. Okay, and what I want to do is they're all over the place. I want the search thing. Okay, let's say I want this little search guy. So I've dragged out an instance and I copy it. Okay, and I want to use this on mine. Normally you're not doing it on purpose. You accidentally copy, you're like, I'm going to grab all of this and appropriate it, steal it. Okay, because it's good and it's nicely laid out and it's going to save some time. That's one of the lovely things about this UX industry and Figma in particular. There's lots in the community that we can use. Okay, but let's say we do it on purpose. We copied out an instance. It has to be an instance for this thing to work, because what I want to show you is what's happened to our assets panel. A second ago, if I undo, we only had local components. That means that the masters are in this document somewhere. But if I paste an instance from somebody else's, we get this new thing. Great, nice. All right, we get this thing used in this file. It's an instance. How do I know? Under layers. Oh, where is it there? Little diamond. So this has come along, which is cool. But where's the original? Where's the master? Actually, we can go back to it like we did before. Okay, go to main component. It's slightly different language than the other one, but it's going to do the same thing. It exists, not in this document. Okay, even if I have this document closed and I forgot I even got it from that, if I go right click and say go to main component, boom, it's going to open the right file. It's going to try and find it for me. Look at there, it's even selected it. So that's sometimes useful and a lot of the time just a pain in the butt. Okay, so if I go to assets and you're like, oh, that's why that is there. Okay, what you can do is, I right clicked it, you can go to main component as well. Actually, what we're going to do is right click it and say detach instance. Okay, so it's no longer a component anymore. That's why it's disappeared. And we're going to make it a component. And at least now it's a component on this file. It's not going to reach back into this other file now. It's kind of disconnected. Does that make sense? Now, at the moment, the way that I'm going to undo it, so it's still connected to that original file. At the moment, it doesn't, if I go and update this, go to the main component and I update it here, it doesn't kind of flow through. It's not the ideal way, or at least the way that Figma wants you to kind of control large files. So if I go in here now and say destroy, okay, save this, well, click done. There's no real save. I still do it though. Command S, Control S, it doesn't help. Let's close that down. Can you see it doesn't flow through this way? The way to update and do get it to flow through is something called a library, a team library. We'll do that a little bit later in the course. It's one of the paid things we need to use. And if you really want to know now, you can go check the part of the course that's called libraries. But yeah, for the moment, let's stick to components. And let's do one other thing about not killing components. So you can go over there. So main components don't die. The other thing that can't die, so this is an instance of my main component. Remember, I know because it's in the layers, there's my original. But let's say I've got a couple of them. I've got this one, I copy it, you paste that one there, and try and drag all of this down. Whenever I'm trying to select everything on Artboard, I try and drag box around all, there you go. Cool. All right, so I've got this one and this one. In this case, I don't need a home button. We're already home. So I'm going to go in here, double click it and hit delete. And it's gone. Not really. It's kind of weird. Nothing is deleted. You can't kill it, remember? Let's have a little look at what happened. I'm going to move it so you can see so we can zoom in nicely with the camera angle. Okay, so I'm going to undo. Okay, so there's my instance, top nav. Okay, instance main. So if I go into this, double click to go inside my instance and I say, I'm just using the delete key on my keyboard. Watch what happens to this thing called subtract. It should be called home button, but hey, bad naming. Can you see it doesn't actually disappear? It doesn't actually go away. The eyeball just closes. So you don't actually kill things in an instance. It just hides it. It means that we can turn it back on later on, and it doesn't break the connection between these two. Okay, if I did want to get rid of it forever, I've got to go into my main and it will delete out of this and this. Does that make sense? So you might find things that have a bunch of things I will, turned off on it. But yeah, that is why you can't kill components, even little bits of them, and what to do when you're working with what feels like other people's files, but actually just design files that are part of your Figma world that you didn't make. Oh, actually, that's something I didn't mention is I'm going to open up that thing again. Let's go back to that local one. If you actually bring the master in instead of the instance, all that goes away. So let's say I'll need to bring in this, which one? Exclamation point. Okay, if I bring in the master, I know that's the master. Copy it and I bring it in. Okay, let's look at our assets. Paste it, there it is. Can you see it's just part of my local components, okay? Not used in this file. If I want to use it in this file, right click, detach, make a component again, it's back. All right, I hope that was a useful introduction to components. The next step for you then with components is to look at component variants, component styles, and component libraries. Out of the scope of this video, it's already getting long. If you did want to check it out, you might want to check out my Figma Essentials or Figma Advanced courses. I cover everything you need to become a master UX designer in Figma. There's like 300 videos, all jam-packed with all sorts of short, structured, bite-sized aha moments. There's class projects, there's teaching assistants to help, there's a quiz, monthly UX design challenges, and the all-important certificate. There is a pass, merit, and distinction. All right, enroll if you're keen to level up. There'll be links for both of those in the description. All right, that's it. My name's Dan Scott. Bye. Settle down.